Jason Kenney joins us now. Jason, thank you for joining. I understand
good to be here, Ezra.
It's good to have you here. You're on your truck tour of Northern Alberta. I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate you taking time. You heard my opening remarks there. I believe that this is qualitatively different than just a tax hike. I hate the carbon tax hike. I hate all the things that Nolly is doing, but those are degrees, those are increments. We can argue about those. Those are on the spectrum of policy choices. But to rip up a contract legally entered into with the government of Alberta to try and de facto expropriate billions of dollars from private sector energy investors in Alberta, and then to mock and shame and sue and defame those companies for asserting their property rights. This is a whole different thing. I believe that they are changing Alberta's reputation. This may change financial analysts. This may change bond rating agencies. This will change Alberta's reputation in Bay Street, in Wall Street, in Frankfurt, in London, in Hong Kong. I am terrified about what this will do to the reputation of Alberta. What do you say?
Ezra, I think you're right to highlight the very grave implications of this. This is a direct assault on sanctity of contract, upon which so much of our free enterprise system is predicated. It's the predictability of rules, of deals that are made, especially with the government. Now, normally if two private companies have a dispute over a contract, they take that to civil litigation and a court decides. But normally a government can be counted upon to respect its own contractual obligations and not to try to sue its way out of them through a demagogic campaign, PR campaign. I mean, this is effectively a political PR lawsuit that is undermining the reputation of the Crown in Alberta. You know, we have this concept in our system of the Crown. It's something that transcends one government or another, or one majority, or any particular politician. It's an idea of permanence, stability, reliability. That is one of the reasons why Canada in general, and Alberta in particular, have had one of the most prosperous economies in the world. And this is a province that depends on tens of billions of dollars of capital investment. We depend on boards of global companies sitting down and making final investment decisions to put billions of their shareholders' funds at risk in Alberta. I believe this decision will make many of those prospective investors less likely to invest in a province where the government appears not to respect the sanctity of contract.
What message can you send today to the boards of directors and the investors of these electricity companies in Alberta and the 100 other companies and investors watching the destruction of rule of law, the banana republicification of Alberta? Can you send some message to them to let them know that if they can just hold on for 2.5 more years, you will do certain things the day you become premier to undo this weakening of our rule of law? What can you say as the presumptive next premier to calm the markets and the bond rating agencies and investors and tell them help is on the way?
Yes, absolutely, Ezra. First, let me agree with the premise of your question. The leading people in the oil and gas industry with whom I speak both here and abroad tell me that even if oil prices come back up to the most optimistic scenario of $70, $80, or $80 a barrel, that international capital will not come back to Alberta as long as the current NDP government is in office, precisely because they have so fundamentally shaken investor confidence in the stable policy setting of this province. Ezra, it's important to understand that Alberta and Canada already had one of the highest costs for exploration and development of oil and gas, in part because we already had the highest, most costly and strictest environmental regulations, remote geography, high labor costs, the sorts of things that you've written about in your book, Ethical Oil. And so we already have that high cost structure. You add on to that political uncertainty. You add on to that attacks on the sanctity of contracts, such as with the power producer agreements. You add on to that massive new confiscatory levels of taxation, the new carbon tax, new corporate taxes. You add on to that higher labor costs and unpredictable regulatory environment, and all of that has led, as far as from everything I hear, global investors to say that they will stay away from Alberta as long as this government is in office. So that is why I am running this campaign. And let me be absolutely clear that if we succeed in this effort to unite Alberta and to bring to this province a free enterprise government that would be elected in May of 2019, we will immediately proceed as job number one to restore investor confidence in Alberta. We would immediately move to repeal the NDP carbon tax. We would reestablish a favorable tax setting. We would undo some of the destructive regulations adopted by this government. We would take every step necessary to send a message to institutional investors that Alberta is open for business again. That would be primordial, the first task of a government that we would hopefully elect in May of 2019.
I believe this phony defamatory litigation by Rachel Notley will proceed against the energy companies, and they'll fight back in court. And however the first round goes at trial, there will be an appeal, and it will continue for years. So I know you have to think carefully about how far you can go to answer my next question, but I believe that 2.5 years from now, this matter will still be before the courts. How comfortable are you saying that should this matter still be before the courts, that you could say to the NMAXs and the EPCORs of the world that you will abandon this punitive and ill-founded and frankly illegal litigation against them? I'm not saying you would pay
There's no question about that.
So you
Absolutely
will,
no question about that, Ezra. We would terminate that litigation. We would respect the contracts as they were signed, and we would respect all contracts signed by the government of Alberta. We would abandon what you, I think, accurately characterize as punitive litigation.
What message do you have for the existing incumbent companies that are in a hostage-like situation and think maybe they can buy themselves some breathing room by parroting some of Rachel Notley's anti-fossil fuel extremism?
Well, my message, Ezra, would be to any corporate executive or board to act in their shareholders' best interests and not to politicize themselves, not to bend their direction to try to suit a accidental one-term government. Let me be clear. I am absolutely confident that we will succeed in this plan to unite Alberta so that in May of 2019, we will elect a large majority of MLAs deeply grounded in free enterprise values, respectful of property rights, the sanctity of contract, fiscal responsibility, supportive of the energy industry, who do not believe this charade that we can somehow access or obtain social license for market access through pipelines by becoming apologetic for the industry that has been a key engine of Canada's economic prosperity. So help is on the way. There will be a new government in the spring of 2019, a government that will fight for Alberta prosperity, for ordinary working people, in part by defending more vigorously than ever our energy industry, yes, in an environmentally responsible way. But I would ask people in every sector of the Alberta economy to do their best in the next 3 years, knowing that we will be forming a majority government, I'm confident, in the spring of 2019 that can reestablish a sane, sound, predictable policy environment that promotes economic growth in every sector of our economy.
I would like you to say as clearly as you can, if you can, will you not amend or reform, but will you repeal? Will you pull out by the root? Will you obliterate any carbon tax that Rachel Notley puts into power?
Yes.
That's as clear as it gets. Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.